The jagged, rusted silhouette broke the horizon, a tomb of iron half buried in the surf. Luna led the group across the rotting deck, the wood groaning under their weight. Deep within the captain's quarters, she shoved the heavy oak door aside. Nix Morvain sat there, surrounded by salt-stained records. Nix did not speak, simply pointing to a charcoal sketch on a yellowed page, a shadow churning the ocean floor into a lethal tsunami. The room went cold. Vamp stepped forward, raising a hand in a low, rhythmic chant. A faint shimmer pulsed, wrapping around their chests, binding the ability to pull breath directly from the salt water into their lungs. They scrambled to secure the hull, hammering iron plates over every breach until the ship was airtight. The vessel shuddered as it tipped forward. Gravity pulled them down, and the light of the surface vanished, replaced by the crushing, absolute black of the descent. They plunged into the abyss, the hull straining as the ocean closed over them, dragging the team into the deep. The descent ended with a bone-jarring thud as the keel slammed into the silt of the Mariana Trench. Silence followed, heavy and absolute, save for the rhythmic, metallic shrieking of steel beams buckling under the immense weight of the water above. Luna gripped the bulkhead, her knuckles white as the ship groaned, shifting slightly in the muck. Outside, the darkness was absolute until a faint, sickly pulse of bioluminescence began to bleed through the portholes. It was not a natural light. It was rhythmic, like a slow beating heart. The ocean floor began to churn. Great clouds of sediment billowed upward, obscuring the view before being swept away by a sudden, massive displacement of water. The ship rocked violently, nearly tipping on its side. A colossal form uncoiled from the trench floor, its scales scraping against the ship's hull like grinding tectonic plates. The creature stretched, dwarfing the vessel, its light turning the interior of the cabin a washed-out, ghostly green. Every member of the crew froze, staring into the abyss as the creature's eyes opened, locking onto the intruders who had dared to trespass in its silent domain. Muggs did not wait for an order. He kicked off the deck, blade extended, and lunged at the beast. The impact was barely a scratch. The Leviathan whipped its tail, a blur of motion that slammed into Muggs like a freight train. He vanished into the dark, launched toward the surface with impossible speed. The remaining 5 moved as one. Luna signaled, and they scattered, flanking the Titan from every angle. Sheila and Fern hammered at the creature's side, forcing it to turn, while Liberty Heart and Vamp targeted the joints of its massive fins. The water turned into a cauldron of violent currents. The beast thrashed, snapping its jaws, but the group refused to give ground. They dodged, struck, and retreated in a relentless, punishing cycle. The bioluminescence flickered, dimming with every blow. Luna delivered the final strike, driving the momentum home until the creature shuddered. The massive form slowed, the thrashing turning into a slow, heavy sink. It hit the silt with a dull thud, the crushing pressure of the trench finally claiming the Titan. The beast was down. The massive, bioluminescent scales began to crack and recede. The creature did not bleed. It dissolved. Where a Titan had occupied the silt, a human form emerged, shrinking until the massive frame was gone. A girl lay limp on the ocean floor, her hair fanning out in the current like ribbons of dyed silk. Luna reached out, grabbing her arm, and the group surged upward, fighting the crushing weight of the water to reach the surface. They broke through the foam, hauling the girl onto the rotting deck of the ship. She remained motionless for a long beat, the salt water draining from her skin. Then, her eyes snapped open. She did not look at them with recognition. She looked at them with a predator's instinct. She recoiled instantly, scrambling backward until her spine hit the mast. Her fists clenched, knuckles white, her body coiled tight and ready to strike at the first sign of movement. She breathed in sharp, ragged gasps, scanning the group with a gaze that cut through the silence. They froze, unable to speak, stunned by the sudden reality of the human life they had pulled from the heart of the abyss. They rode to the sand, the oars dipping rhythmically into the surf. The tension held until they gathered dry driftwood and struck a spark. The fire caught, growing into a steady orange blaze that pushed back the night. They passed dried rations and water between them, the act of eating breaking the silence. Laughter bubbled up from mugs, nervous at first, then genuine, echoing against the quiet dunes. They turned to the girl. She sat rigid, watching the flames. "Tide," Liberty Heart ventured, leaning forward. The girl did not blink. "Marina," Fern offered, her voice soft. No response. The group tried again, tossing names into the air like stones. Then, someone called out Calypso. The girl's focus shifted from the fire to the expanse of the ocean, then back to the group. She gave a small, hesitant nod. The air in the circle changed, the weight of the hunt lifting. She reached out, extending her hands toward the warmth of the blaze. The group settled back, watching the sparks climb toward the stars. The journey was over. They sat together, a circle of survivors under the vast, quiet night sky.